Here, I think you've got the boldest idea for any Predator movie made to date because you're transforming someone we know as a merciless killer into an empathetic action hero. So I just want to know, from devising the story, what were the biggest challenges of telling a story from a Predator perspective?
Certainly the biggest challenge was finding a way to allow his performance to be as emotional as possible. We really wanted it to be in the tradition of the franchise, all man in suit, um, and did some initial tests and try to figure out a different way because I mean it's very inhibitive the way that the suits are made to allow for emotional subtlety. It was designed, of course, initially to be scary and ferocious and be seen very briefly, usually at night, um, and so we did those initial tests, and it was coming up short, and that led to this decision to have it be largely in man in suit, but just with an open cowl. So the rest of the face could be done digitally, and getting that right and making that feel um, like it matched aesthetically what the suit looks like was challenging, but even more so the performance, because when you think about all the great CG performances that we've had in cinema history, from Gollum to the Planet of the Apes, they're very humanoid, and the faces match what human expression is, and the Predator's face does not match that, and it's got these giant, crazy mandibles that. Finding our way through that was one of the trickiest things of the whole endeavor. But we found a way through it, and
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with how we've done it.
Of course, the other bold thing is the fact that the first 20, 25 minutes are within this native language as well that you've developed for the film. So was it a challenge to sort of persuade the producers and the studio to sort of stick with this vision? Because it is such a bold way to open the film.
I'm very very lucky, and thankfully Prey was so successful and proved that we could do something unexpected, and people would be delighted by it. And somehow I know what you're saying. It's crazy that this movie. Not only are we doing a creature is the lead, not only are we doing there's actually no humans in the movie, but also it's in another language and it's going to be subtitled, and no one even speaks this language anyway, and no, it was insane. Um, but I think we all realize from the studio through the entire crew of the movie, how fun it is to make a movie like this, and how wonderful it will feel if people are delighted by it. That it wasn't just because it's a part of a franchise and people, it's because we did something really bold and unique. And also that is what I think what everyone realizes it's required to get people off the couch and go to the movies is to give them a ride that they haven't taken before.
I mean, the other big surprise for me is just how much it plays out like a buddy comedy between a predator and a robot, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've described various westerns and post-apocalyptic movies as influence, but their dynamic, it feels far warmer than anything that we'd find, from the characters in those genres. So, what were you pulling from when building out that core relationship?
I mean, that was the other challenge that I haven't really been able to speak to since people haven't seen the movie yet. Is is not only is it going to be monster as hero, and of finding our way to make him be as ferocious and badass as he's always been, and the movie be riddled with violence, but also have some heart. And I would say the biggest inspiration for that is Terminator 2, um, which is a movie that, like the first Terminator, I never would have thought to ask my mom to see it. But I remember seeing T2 and then being like, Mom, you got to see this cool movie. And she loved it. And that's a really special thing when you can have a movie called Terminator 2 Judgment Day and be brutally violent, um, and yet also be incredibly emotional and profound and stirring. And so I really wanted it to be the same for this movie, and yeah, it's what drove me towards making sure that there was a really lovely relationship at the core between Deck and Thea and some other characters as well.
I mean, James Cameron also gets a special thanks at the end of the credits as well. I mean, what did he contribute that needed that shout out?
Well, certainly not only just that inspiration, but also he happens to be by the I cannot believe, but he loved Prey and Killer of Killers, and when we were shooting in New Zealand, he I was going down to work at Weta, and he had me come over, and he showed me what they were doing with Avatar, and there was a moment where we went. I explained to him what we were doing with the movie and how we were just prepping at the time, and I was incredibly nervous about our methodology, and we relocated from his editorial bay to dinner. And when he showed up, he sat down in front of me and he said, "On the ride over, I was thinking about what you're doing, and I think it's gonna work." And that was like hearing James Cameron say, "I think it's going to work," was like all that we needed to have wind in our sails. And then ironically, I showed him a cut of the movie like a month or two ago. It was almost done, not quite done, but almost done. And he wrote his lovely thoughts and said, "I got to be honest with you. When I first heard about what you're doing, I did not think it was going to work. But oh my God, it really does work. You made me care about the Predator, you know." And so yeah, I thought that deserved a very special thanks for sure.
Staying on James Cameron for a second. I mean, we know from the trailers. I won't go too much into this because I don't want to spoil. But we know that there's a crossover with Alien because Wayland Yutani built your robot lead here. So I just want to know, was that sort of tying together of the franchises always part of the vision? And was it daunting to be playing in the sandbox of another franchise with an equally dedicated fan base?
Yeah, it was as soon as I started thinking about Monster and Robot, I was like, oh wait a second, I know a company that makes robots. They happen to be owned by 20th and Disney and all that stuff. We could use that, and I just think it's so cool that you can link two franchises, not with like the giant forces in them. It's not about having a xenomorph or Ripley in the Predator. You know, it's like these touch points inside the franchise being linked together. Is something that we don't often see, and I think is really cool. So that really was the inspiration for it, and daunting, yes, but also I don't know. So I'm more comforted if I was doing something more traditional. Then I'd be freaking out a little bit more. I feel more daunted because I think it's like less to be excited by, and I think could have more of the ire of a fan base than when you're doing something bold and fresher. I think that's more to be looked forward to from a fan of any franchise.
Yeah, well, Dan, I've been told to wrap, but congratulations again on the movie. Had a blast talking to you just now,
Thanks.
and hopefully talk to you on the next Predator movie you do, which I'm
Sounds good.
fingers crossed is with us soon.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
take care. Thanks.